and I read it to you. Yeah, it was like Hillary. The questions were in this tweet. I don't have it in front of me. I wish I did. It was very well done. So whoever you are, good tweet. And if I find it, I'll definitely star it and call it out. But the person said, the questions were: 1, Hillary Clinton, why can't we trust you? Number 2, Bernie Sanders, why can't we trust Hillary Clinton? Number 3, Hillary Clinton, why aren't you trustworthy?
Yeah, it's not like Hillary Clinton just got the short shift here. Bernie Sanders got a lot of crappy questions.
Oh, and he got cut off.
Mostly, and he got cut off constantly.
Yeah.
Mostly the crappy questions Bernie was asked were things that they were trying to create conflict between he and Hillary Clinton on.
Well, but they also carried Republican water with him about, you won all these things for the free college, but everybody's gonna go broke. I mean, they didn't word it that way, but there's no money for this. And yes, that's a legitimate issue to discuss. How are we going to pay for these things? But the way it was worded was, this is a fact. And instead of debating the value of because that's part of what Bernie Sanders is here to do, he is saying we have a moral responsibility to change the way we have these discussions. The discussion shouldn't be always about money. We don't have that discussion about subsidizing Shell oil. Nobody talks about how we don't have enough money for that. So that shouldn't be the premise of every discussion. Sometimes we have to talk about what is the moral thing to do. Do we want to send our kids to college? Do we want every child, whether they came from wealthy families or not, to be able to go to college? And really, that is a basic premise of this country, and we've gotten far away from it, and it's time to come back to that. He's always bringing everyone back to that moral shift of discussion, and I think he always pushes the discussion further and further to the left.
Yeah, he does, and he's providing a valuable service within the Democratic primary by doing that.
Oh, yeah.
He's really giving Democrats, he's helping to drive the discussion in such a way that issues that wouldn't normally be talked about are being discussed. And it's helping the party. It's helping the party,
but I also don't want to sound dismissive of him as if that's what his point is here, because I don't think that is. I think that's a service that he is providing from a genuine point of view of concern. We have a lot of politicians who would kind of espouse similar things, but they don't seem to have the same passion that he does. There isn't anything that comes off as inauthentic about him. Everything comes from this place of deeply centered morality. Now, I do think that and it was pointed out in the debate tonight, that there's policies he's changed on and he's shifted on, and he's having to grow sort of his understanding of constituencies that he hasn't represented before. And you do see that as an area that he's growing right now, which I think is going to be great for him, whether he ends up in the White House or not. And of course, Hillary Clinton, they both have grown over the years with their policies and changed. But I just thought it was interesting because I could really see that in him, this sort of expansion, especially when it comes to minorities, of learning and about a new, not that he didn't appreciate those things, because I think he did, but this was a much wider discussion that he's starting to have. I think it's a wider discussion. I think there's also a big difference between ideologically or intellectually understanding something and getting out on the campaign trail and meeting people and talking to people and experiencing their experiences. And I think that might be some of the broadening that you're referring to. That's exactly it, because it's authentic. He isn't shifting to appeal to people. It doesn't feel like it's some kind of fake put-on thing. It really feels like a genuine... I think it's an eye-opening, more of an emotional shift that comes from meeting people and talking to them and hearing their stories. And as you have said, I mean, liberals believe in these ideas, but ideas are not people. And it's very different when you're out talking to actual people and you see, I mean, it's just heartbreaking when you hear them talk about, tonight they were talking about families that are separated due to deportation and our immigration policies. But then in the last debate, they were talking about the parents of African American children who've been killed. by police, and it's just it's absolutely, you can see the heartbreak on both of their faces. It's absolutely just kind of, it's important, and it needs to be out there.
And just as a point of distinction, there are also two topics you will never, ever see on a Republican debate.
No, well, they don't even talk about policy. I mean, what? That's all it is. We're going to build a wall. That's Donald Trump. That's what the Republican Party has. And by the way, for anyone who thinks that Donald Trump is some kind of mass major extremist, the Republicans are already catering to him. Chuck Grassley said today that he would basically consider a nominee from Donald Trump for the Supreme Court, where he won't consider one from President Obama. Now, if that isn't getting down on your knees and bowing down to this deranged clown, I don't know what is. And so what that says to me is that every Republican is now Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That's, they used to be Rush Limbaugh because they would do this with him, and they're doing it now with Donald Trump. But Donald Trump is running for a much higher office than Rush Limbaugh, even though the big Mike. But and I think also Senator Elizabeth Warren brought this up today, and she said that this is all part of Republicans delegitimizing Obama's presidency and giving credence to the birther movement. Basically, she didn't use the word of the birthers, but that's where it came from, and that's who these people are, and that's who Donald Trump is. And as long as establishment Republicans are going to get down on their knees and bow down to Donald Trump, they deserve to be called out on that.
Yes, they do.
So I want to thank you for joining me tonight to talk about this Democratic debate with Univision. It was very interesting, and I think we saw some good back and forth. And certainly Hillary Clinton, I thought, did a great job defending herself against. She's the one that got attacked the most from regarding the questions from the moderators. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will talk to you tomorrow evening. Thanks.